I let the pool boy in, just for a minute. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself I was still a good wife. But I was lying, and not just to him. My name is Claire. I'm 49. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona, in a house that used to feel like a dream. Big backyard, Spanish tile roof, and a pool that glitters like a secret in the sun. I've been married to Tom for 21 years. We were high school sweethearts. He sells high-end insurance policies to people with vacation homes and too much money to care. And he works a lot. That used to be okay. I raised our kids, made the house beautiful, hosted the parties, did everything I was supposed to do. But now the kids are gone, the house is too quiet, and some days I can't remember the last time he looked at me like he used to. We still talk, sure. But it's schedules and bills and what's for dinner talk. The kind of conversations that make you feel like a roommate in your own marriage. I'm not lonely, I used to tell myself. I'm just bored. That's what I said before I met him. He showed up on a Monday. Mid-morning. I was halfway through wiping down the kitchen counters when I heard the gate squeak. I wasn't expecting anyone, but I saw the blue polo shirt through the window, clean-cut, tall, maybe early 30s. He had a clipboard in his hand and a smile that made my stomach tighten. "Hi," he said when I opened the patio door. "Jesse, from Aquaclear Pools. We're taking over for Gary while he's out." I remember nodding like it was no big deal. But something about the way he looked at me, like he was seeing me, not just the customer, caught me off guard. His eyes lingered just a second too long. "I'll just be out back. Won't bother you," he added. But he did. Even when he was silent, he did. Through the windows, I'd see him working. Muscles flexing with every sweep of the net. The sun caught the back of his neck. He'd glance toward the kitchen now and then. Once, I was refilling my coffee and he caught my eye. Just smiled. Like we shared a joke neither of us had said out loud. It started innocent. I'd bring him a bottle of water. Chat for a minute. Ask how long he'd been in the business. He'd tease me about the number of palm fronds in our pool. But it changed the day I wore the robe. I'd just gotten out of the shower. He came earlier than usual. I didn't think, I just opened the door. Hair wet, robe tied loose at the waist, skin still warm from the steam. He blinked. Looked down, politely, but not too politely. Sorry, I stammered. "Didn't expect you this early." His voice was low. "I don't mind." He smiled again, and this time I couldn't tell if it was teasing or something else. That afternoon, I stayed in the kitchen longer, pretending to clean, watching him skim the water, adjust the filters. I caught myself touching my throat when he looked toward the house, my fingers tracing the edge of the robe without meaning to. I started timing my mornings differently, brushing my hair a little longer, choosing the tank tops I hadn't worn in years. Once, he asked if I liked the work he was doing. "You keep it spotless," I said. He shrugged. "I try to be thorough. It matters when someone's watching." He didn't say someone. He said you with his eyes. One Friday, Tom had left early for a golf retreat. I was alone all weekend. Jesse knocked on the patio door around noon. "It's too hot out here," he said, wiping sweat from his brow. "Mind if I step inside for a sec?" I hesitated. Just for a minute, I thought. Just a drink of water. I opened the sliding glass door. He stepped in just a few feet, and everything felt different. The air was thick. My pulse was loud in my ears. I handed him the water, and our fingers brushed. Neither of us moved. The silence stretched. His voice was barely above a whisper. "You okay?" I nodded, even though I wasn't sure. He set the water down on the counter. Slowly, deliberately. I looked up, and that was the moment. That one impossible moment. When he leaned in just slightly, just enough that I felt his breath. Just enough that I had to choose. And I did. The next morning, I opened the patio door and the scent of chlorine hit me like a memory I couldn't shake. The sunlight was too bright. Too honest. The glass where Jesse had set his water still had the faintest outline of his fingers. I hadn't touched it. I don't know why. Maybe part of me thought if I left it there, what happened wouldn't feel real. But it was. He hadn't kissed me. Not really. But his hand had touched mine longer than it should have. His voice had gone quiet, tender. And when I didn't stop him from coming closer, when I leaned in too, I knew. We crossed a line we couldn't uncross. We didn't do anything, but we did everything. I kept replaying the look in his eyes. The way he lingered in the doorway, like he was waiting for me to stop pretending. Like he knew I was starved for something I hadn't admitted out loud. And when he left, no words, just a soft glance, I realized how empty the house really was. And how full of guilt I'd suddenly become. That weekend, I tried to shake it off. I lit candles, turned on music, poured myself a glass of wine, things I hadn't done alone in years. But none of it helped. Because my thoughts kept circling back to Jesse. He hadn't texted. Of course he hadn't. That would make it real. But Monday came, and like clockwork, I heard the gate. He was back. This time, he didn't knock. He got to work like nothing had happened. I watched him through the blinds. Something had shifted. He moved slower, straighter. He didn't glance toward the house. Not once. I waited until he was almost done before walking out. "Hey," I said. He didn't flinch, but he didn't smile either. "Hey." It was the first time he didn't offer a joke, a compliment, a reason to stay. I swallowed hard. "You left your water glass." Inside. He nodded, still avoiding my eyes. "It's okay." There was a long pause. He finally looked at me. "You looked scared." That day, I shook my head. I wasn't. "Maybe not of me," he said, "but of what it meant." I didn't have a response to that. And maybe that was the most honest I'd been in years. He left again. I watched the gate close, the latch click. And I stood in the heat, trying to decide what scared me more, the idea of seeing him again, or the idea that he might never come back. The next few weeks were a slow burn. Every Monday and Friday he came. I never knew what version of him I'd get. Sometimes playful, sometimes distant, sometimes something else. And every time, I found a reason to be nearby. Watering the garden, folding towels near the window, picking herbs from the planter that barely grew anything. I wasn't looking for attention. I was looking for escape. From being unseen. From being a wife whose skin hadn't been touched outside obligation in years. Once, I walked out with a pitcher of lemonade. He was kneeling by the filter, hands deep in the machinery. He stood up, and I offered him a glass without a word. He didn't say thanks. Just looked at me, long and slow. "You sure?" he asked. It wasn't about the lemonade. I nodded. That afternoon, he didn't leave right away. He sat at the edge of the pool, shoes off, legs dangling in the water. I joined him. We didn't speak. Our arms brushed. Our knees touched. It felt like thunder in silence. And still, we didn't kiss. We didn't touch beyond that. But the betrayal wasn't about what we did. It was about what we wanted to. And what we didn't stop. 2 weeks later, Tom came home early. It was a Thursday. Jesse wasn't supposed to be there. But something had gone wrong with the pump, and he texted that he'd swing by quickly. I didn't hesitate. "Come in," I'd said over the phone. "I'm home." What I didn't know, what I couldn't know, was that Tom had left work in a hurry that day. His office had called off the quarterly meeting, and he figured he'd surprise me with lunch. He walked in through the front door as Jesse walked out the back. They didn't see each other. But the tension must have followed me like a shadow, because Tom noticed immediately. Who was here? No one, I lied. He didn't press. But I could tell the silence felt different. That night, he was quiet. Cold. Not angry, suspicious. The next day, he asked for my phone. Said his charger was broken. I handed it to him without thinking. It was clean. Jesse and I never messaged outside quick logistics. Nothing a husband could use. But Tom wasn't looking for texts. He was looking through the Nest app. That's when it happened. I didn't even remember the camera near the back patio, the one we barely used anymore. But he did. And there we were. Me. Jesse. Standing too close. Too still. Too obvious. The glass in Tom's hand didn't shatter. He just set it down. And walked out. He didn't say a word. Not even when he returned the next morning, calm, collected, eyes like ice. I saw enough, he said. Not everything, but enough. Then he pulled something from his pocket. His wedding band. He left it on the counter. Didn't wait for a response. Didn't yell. Didn't cry. Just walked upstairs. And shut the door. I sat on the bar stool for what felt like hours. The house was silent again. But it wasn't peaceful anymore. It was hollow. Jesse never came back. Whether Tom called the company or Jesse saw the writing on the wall, I'll never know. The pool still gets cleaned. But by someone new. Someone older. Someone polite and distant. And me? I still make coffee in the morning. Still walk barefoot across the cool tile. Still stare out the window and remember the minute I let something in I couldn't take back. It only lasted a moment. But the aftermath echoes every day. He left the ring. I left everything else.